Find us a hansom, Watson. We have no time to lose.
Ah, Lamb, good timing. Can you give myself and my friend Sherlock a lift?
With pleasure, Dr. Watson. The mistress, Miss Bromsby, gave me the day off. I'll wait for you.
Oh, what a mess. Oh, what a mess. So, Holmes...
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and welcome to the National Gallery of Painting. As it's such a lovely day outside, you're the only visitors at the moment, and likely will be for the whole day, as the minimum number of people for a guided tour is...
We're not here to visit the museum, young man. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
Sherlock Holmes? The famous detective?
Indeed, I have reason to believe that a theft is being planned that will take place here, perhaps as early as today.
A robbery?
I'm not certain, but there is a good reason to believe that is the case. We have contacted Inspector Lestrade at Scotland Yard, and he should be joining us momentarily. Meanwhile, rest assured that we are here in an official capacity. In the meantime, you can certainly help us. One of the paintings will play a part in the matter, but I don't yet know exactly which one. I do, however, have a few clues that should tell something to a specialist like yourself.
Ah, yes, of course. As it happens, I've only been working here for 3 days. Actually, I'm an apprentice, and my duties here are essentially administrative.
Pray tell, would I be correct in deducing that the elder of the two men that we can see up there is the director of the museum?
Yes, that is Sir Pointer. He could certainly assist you better than I, but at the moment he's terribly occupied and will be for some time.
But the location that you are proposing is unworthy of my work. All of my pieces are hymns to color and light. It's the very stars, the sun that you want to extinguish.
Please understand, dear sir, the entrance hall is reserved for temporary exhibitions. We are able to add more lighting.
In that case, you would have to provide lanterns across the whole length of the ceiling, and to use the most refined oil possible. Definitely not gas. And mirrors to reflect the light, along with some canvases in basic colors to bring out the contrasts.
We will do all that we possibly can.
Nevertheless, I insist that a number of my works must be on the main floor next to the large pieces.
But our rooms are already full and, as you know, each has its specific subject. Too much modernism?
How can there be too much modernism? Modernism doesn't exist. Only art exists. Art is timeless. Art is cosmic.
Well, sir, perhaps we should continue this conversation in my office.
Then you must certainly have a ledger of the works that are shown in the museum, with a description of each painting.
Yes, Sir Pointer entrusted it to my care this morning so I could familiarize myself with the collection, but I lost it. I know I make a rather feeble archivist, but while I was doing a tour of the museum, the painting that Mr. Pointer is now dealing with arrived, along with cases full of canvases that he had to quickly inventory.
The case of the missing ledger. What do you make of it, Watson? Listen, Mr.
Palinor, sir.
Palinor, my friend and I will make our way through the museum in order to find the ledger. If you lost it while touring the museum and it wasn't back on the desk, then it must be in one of the galleries. Stay here and we will return to see you when we have found it, and not a word of it to the director.
Certainly, sir. With many thanks, I will continue to do my inventory and await you.
Tell me, young man, would you happen to have a blueprint of the building in order to facilitate the task at hand?
Ah, yes, yes. Where did I put it? Oh, yes, here it is.
Farewell, Palinor. Closed. 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 The Supper at Emmaus, where the resurrected Jesus appears to his disciples, painted by Caravaggio, 1571-1610. He was a master of chiaroscuro, and the Caravaggism movement was named after him. The Assassination of St. Peter Martyr, painted around 1507 by Giovanni Bellini, a forerunner of the Venetian school. St. Catherine of Alexandria, by Antonio de Salario in 1514, originally part of a triptych.
What do you think, Holmes?
Closed. This painting depicts the gods Venus and Mars by Botticelli. This painting was exhibited for the first time in 1874 in the National Gallery. The Virgin of the Rocks, famous canvas painted between 1491 and 1508 by Leonardo da Vinci. Multidisciplinary man, artist, scientist, inventor, and humanist philosopher. He transformed art into the complex style of the High Renaissance. His scientific and artistic method proceeded from a preliminary accumulation of detailed observations, of knowledge dispersed here and there, all with perfection as the objective.
You speak of yourself, Holmes?
Portrait of a Young Man in Red by Domenico Ghirlandaio. This painting was executed between 1480 and 90 and is on loan. A study by Tiepolo. The Trojans bring the Greek horse into their city, causing their own ruin. Thus it's best to beware of certain gifts. Canvas by Orazio Gentileschi, 1563 to 1639, Baroque painter influenced by Caravaggio. His daughter Artemisia became a painter in her own right. A painting by Veronese, the family of Darius before Alexander. The Origin of the Milky Way, painted around 1575 and bought in 1890 by the National Gallery, executed by Jacopo Robusti, known as Tintoretto, which comes from tintore, as his father was a dyer. At least his business was merely dyeing and not death. St. Catherine of Alexandria, painted by Carlo Crivelli, bought as part of the Prince Anatole Demidov collection in 1868. Must you see it to believe? The incredulity of St. Thomas, master of the work, Battista Giovanni Cima, born around 1459. Adoration of the Kings by Botticelli, bought by the National Gallery in 1878. The Gallery of Italian Works. Painting by Lorenzo Lotto, born around 1480, died in 1556 or 7, has a very idiosyncratic style. St. Catherine of Alexandria by Raphael, painted around 1507, one of the greatest Italian painters and architects of the High Renaissance. Ah, Venice, La Serenissima, this one from 1740 by Canaletto. The Gallery of Italian Works. The Adoration of the Name of Jesus, El Greco, 1541 to 1614, Spanish painter from Crete, belonging to the Mannerist school. The Spanish Painters Gallery. La Tela Real by the great Spanish master Diego Velázquez, 1599 to 1660, painter from the golden century of Spain. It depicts a royal boar hunt. The Vendramin family, venerating a relic of the True Cross by Titian, a Venetian paper, died in 1576, leader of the 16th century Venetian school of the Cinquecento. Jacob with a Flock of Laban by Giuseppe de Ribera, also called Lo Spagnoletto, or the Little Spaniard because of his height. Christ healing the paralytic at the pool of Bethesda by Murillo, one of the most important figures in Baroque painting in Spain during the 18th century. Christ driving the traders from the temple, canvassed by the Spanish master El Greco. A peasant boy leaning on a sill by Bartolomé Esteban Murillo, 1617 to 1682. The Toilet of Venus by Diego Velázquez, who was considered, along with Francisco Goya and El Greco, as one of the greatest artists in all of Spanish history. An Apostle, Giuseppe de Ribera, 1591 to 1652. This canvas by Tiziano Vecellio, better known as Titian, is an allegory of prudence. It reads, "From the past, the man of the present acts prudently so as not to imperil the future." Wise advice. The Lamentation of the Dead Christ by Giuseppe de Ribera, a Tenebrist painter. A lovely painting by Murillo. Impressive. French Painters Gallery. A portrait, Madame Moitessier, by Ingres, who was also a violinist on the side, like myself. Monsieur de Norvin's portrait by Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, 1780 to 1876. The Billet Doux by Françoise Boucher. A beautiful landscape by Boucher, Françoise, a master of colour in the Age of Enlightenment. The Battle of Genappe by Horace Vernet, one of the victories of the French Revolution. Horace Vernet, the Battle of the Hanau, which took place in 1813, the beginning of the end for Napoleon despite this victory. Watson, come quickly.
What is it, Holmes? What have you found?
A painting by my great-uncle, Horace Vernet. I had forgotten that his work could be found here. It is certainly this ancestor to whom Lupin made reference in his letter. Such talent, don't you think?
Who? Lupin?
No, Vernet. albeit Lupin also, but in a different field. A canvas by Vernet, The Battle of Montmirail, France's campaign of 1814, the last embers of the First French Empire. Horace Vernet, The Battle of the Hanau, which took place in 1813, the beginning of the end for Napoleon despite this victory. The Emperor Napoleon I, or Bonaparte as we English prefer, painted by Horace Vernet. The Scale of Love by Jean-Antoine Watteau. Born in 1684, died in 1721, French painter, one of the first in the Rococo style, inspired by the Commedia dell'arte, who loved to depict theatre and festivities in his paintings. Perfect Harmony by Jean-Antoine Watteau. Closed. A canvas by Nicolas Poussin that tells of the discovery of Moses. Very nice. The Adoration of the Golden Calf by Nicolas Poussin, a classical French painter from the 17th century who spent most of his productive career not in Paris, but in Rome, on the fringes of the prominent schools of the era. Jacques Cazot, portrait by Jean-Baptiste Perronneau, born around 1715, died 1783. English Painters' Hall. The Painter's Daughters Chasing a Butterfly by Thomas Gainsborough, an unfinished painting but touching nevertheless. Sun Rising Through Vapour by William Turner. 40 years before Monet, Turner creates a new painting that dissolves forms in a quivering of atmosphere and light. The Evening Star by William Turner, the graceful transitional moment between day and night. Mr. and Mrs. Andrews by Gainsborough, an unfinished painting. An unrivaled landscape artist, he was obliged to do portraits in order to earn a living. John Constable, he managed to turn a boring part of England into a place you'd almost want to visit. A canvas by William Turner, the painter of light. Margate from the Sea by William Turner. Here we have a precursor to Impressionism. A magnificent landscape by Gainsborough. Thomas Gainsborough, one of the most famous English portrait and landscape painters. Dr. Ralph Schomburgk by Thomas Gainsborough, 1727 to 1788. A canvas by Sir Reynolds. Colonel Tarleton, hero of the British forces during the American War of Independence. Queen Charlotte, painted by Sir Thomas Lawrence, an 18th century painter. Lady Coburn and Her Three Eldest Sons by Sir Reynolds. Self-Portrait by William Turner, born in 1775, extraordinary English painter. Lord Heathfield of Gibraltar by Sir Joshua Reynolds, 1723 to 1792, one of the greatest portrait artists of his time. Jacob van Ruysdael, 1628 or 9 to 1682, one of the major landscape artists of Dutch golden age of the 17th century.